that 50,000 persons, minus 6, continue to get the services of the government. Now, what a week it has been. It was just a week ago we had our first radio show, The Point, with Minurish Nital, and our very special guest was the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. He gave us great insight into what he has achieved as Prime Minister and also made some interesting announcements ahead of the next election. That's really the question of the moment. We know there will be an election, but when will the election be? I would not dare ask of you, when may that election be? Because there is only one O in our 26-letter alphabet, and he has that O. I'm delighted that we are joined this evening by the Minister, Akilah Byron-Nisbett. Akilah was elected as a Member of Parliament for constituency number 3 at the last election in 2020. And it is rather unfortunate that we had circumstances of such composition interfering and disrupting that rhythm that she had going. You can imagine what could have happened in 5 years. Because if it is just a year and maybe 10 months that she was performing like that, based on extrapolation, you could imagine the magnitude of what she would have achieved for the persons, especially of constituency number 3, who center to the walls of Parliament. She's the Minister of Health, ICT, Entrepreneurship, Entertainment, and Talent Development. She's also the only woman elected to Parliament. And that came from an election where many persons doubted, but I was always confident. As a matter of fact, my mind went from one optimistic refuge to another, that she would have taken that seat, despite history dictating otherwise. And she did. I had faith. I'm going to be discussing everything from health to constituency number 3 and much more. Please call and let us know what suggestions, concerns, questions you may have. And the number, don't forget, is 760-3049. 760-3049. Now, without any further ado, I'll call on the esteemed minister to give her introductory remarks. Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nital. It is truly my pleasure to be here with you this evening. I also want to say good evening to all of our listening and viewing audience out there. I am so happy to be here on The Point with you and to have the opportunity to be able to get to the point. I don't talk much, and so this evening there will be a lot for me to cover, both on the national and local stage. However, I just want to start with the great constituency that I have the distinct privilege to represent, and that is West Bastia. As you said, it was just shy of 2 years ago that the people of West Bastia entrusted me to represent them in the halls of Parliament and government. And I must say, once again, that I am truly humbled and I am honored to be elected to serve my local community. And to this day, I am truly grateful for all of the support and the ongoing support. Mr. Nital, the support is real. As I do my door-to-door and my one-on-ones and I go about the constituency, I feel it and see it in the bags of passion fruit I get, or lime to tell me, make a little local drinks when you go home, or the call to say, come for a little bit of cook up, I want to make sure you eat, to the phone calls to remind me to do the simplest thing of drinking water. The support is real, and I feel all of the love and support from the people of West Bastia, and I just want to continuously tell them and reiterate that I truly appreciate all of the support. You would have elected me back in the elections of 2020, which came at a time when the entire world was experiencing the greatest challenge that it would have ever faced in 100 years. The COVID-19 pandemic truly did hit us, and it hit us really hard. And of course, there were many families throughout the country, but families within my constituency who were hit hard by the pandemic. Very early in the pandemic, Nital, I would have started a hot meals program, and I would have been delivering food, hot meals, to families within the constituency. And even up to today, the individuals and families in my constituency, I continue to assist them by providing care packages to those who truly need that help. I also do my best, Nital, to connect the constituents with the various social assistance programs, you know, the PAP program, or the 500 as we call it, and the food voucher, and all the other social assistance that provided through social services, helping them at a time when they need that help the most. Of course, we know that we are still not out of the woods as it relates to COVID-19. And as such, I will continue. I give my pledge to continue to assist the residents of constituency number 3 as best as I can. Now, although the COVID-19 would have presented some challenges, and of course, I was dropped into the Ministry of Health at that time, I had to keep my focus on my constituency. So although I was focused on keeping our health system from becoming overwhelmed, I did not lose sight of the commitments that I would have made to the people of West Bastia. And so, Mr. Nital, one of those commitments that I was able to achieve, and I must say that I achieved this particular one within the first 100 days of being in government, was to deal with a water issue that they would have had in Trinity Heights. Many of the listeners would know that the families in Trinity Heights, there were times when they would go for days without water, and it was unfortunate because it's a situation that is a legacy of the former SKNLP. That MP at the time did absolutely nothing to fix the issue, and he practically neglected them and neglected to fix that issue. And so I made the commitment to the people that once I was elected, I would ensure that the people of Trinity Heights can rely on safe and stable water supply. And I did just that within the first 100 days. Another of my very proud achievements is the commitment that I've made to the people of Lagreet to be able to deliver for them land ownership. Of course, I have been working very hard with sustainable development to make sure the residents of Lagreet would be proud landowners. And I'm so happy to say that the boundaries have already been established for all of the 77 lots there in Lagreet. The residents of Lagreet have since been able to meet with the senior officers within sustainable development who have been updating them on the progress as they go through. And I have also been working with them, not just in making sure that these persons have the land titles, but also on infrastructure improvements, that is the roads and the utilities. And it's difficult when you see families not being able to have that basic need met, that is the utilities such as electricity and water. And so in getting them the land titles, it was to assist with that, but I thought it was also important that efforts be made to put those infrastructures in. And so, having worked with Sustainable on this, I am happy to report that Sustainable have actually already paid for the water and the electricity upgrades, and as a matter of fact, Skelec started today, they commenced today with the upgrades that are needed to ensure that the electricity would be in for those persons in Lagreet. And I've also been working with them closely as well, that is sustainable development. and we should be having a handing over ceremony for the titles for those lands. I think it's also important to note that we were able to negotiate with sustainable development to make sure that the persons in Lagreed will be able to receive those land titles at $2 per square foot of land. Now, this is something that I've negotiated for the people of Lagreed. So I am very happy to be able to have that achievement. It was a commitment that I made to the people of Lagreed, and I was determined to see that commitment followed through. And I'm so happy now that through Sustainable, with support from the Prime Minister, who is the minister responsible for sustainable development, we have been able to achieve that. So I want to thank Sustainable, and I want to thank the Prime Minister for supporting the efforts in making that possible for the people of Lagreed. But in general, land ownership have been an issue in West Bastille. And I made a commitment very early to the people of West Bastille that I would do all that I reasonably can do to make sure that land ownership is a reality. And so tonight again, I can also announce that I was happy to confirm that through my work with sustainable development, we were also able to happily identify another area in West Bastille where we would be able to deliver land. I remember I'm constantly knocking on the doors of sustainable development and asking about more land opportunities. And late last year when I knocked again, they said to me, Minister, by April of this year, we will be able to give you details on lands that will be happily be made available in West Bastille. They didn't wait for me to call them this time. They did actually reach out and said, we found it, Minister, and we're able to provide you with that land. It's a new development that they will be putting in Trinity, and they're calling that development the Trinity Rolling Meadows. So we'll soon be seeing lots becoming available in Trinity for land ownership in West Bastille. And so I'm very proud of that achievement. But I also want to just remind the people in West Bastille that based on my one-on-ones and my continued discussions, we know that there is quite a number of persons that have been requesting land over the years, but there's still a limit in the number of lots and of lands that would be made available. But I will continue to work with sustainable development so that we can identify more lands. Now, another thing that I want to talk about that I'm very proud of as well is the Carding Home. I made the Carding Home one of my top priorities because we need to be able to provide for our elderly. Growing up as a child in the village, my family lived just in front of the Carding Home. And so as children, the Carding Home was almost like one of our playgrounds, especially the mango tree in the yard. We always found ourselves in the Carding Home. So it's something that is dear to me. And so I am so happy that I've been able to be put in a position where I can do something to make sure that we see the needed renovation, because for too many years the Carding Home was neglected. Nothing much was being done to the Carding Home. So it's not just about renovation for me. It's also about expanding the Carding Home. And so construction plans are being finalized for the renovation of the existing rooms, as well as being able to double the capacity for new residents at the Carding Home. And I can assure you that I won't stop until this is done. Progress has been made, as I've said, and I have a plan to make sure that this is delivered, because our elderly family members deserve the dignity and respect to rest in care home that is fit for purpose. I've made that commitment and I'm following through on that commitment. Now, one of the other things that I've also done, I told you it's a lot tonight, Anital, because I don't talk much. So I'm using this opportunity to say as much as I can and tell people of what I've been doing. Now, when we talk about Limekeel, the residents of Limekeel, when I was doing my walkthroughs prior to the last election, would have spoken about the unsanitary conditions, having to have the hospital sewage run through Limekeel down to Limekeel Bay. Again, it reminded me of when I was younger. Of course, you learn to swim down in Limekeel Bay if you live in the village. And I could remember we were always joking and saying that those of us who would have had that experience would have been some of the healthiest person you could find. The immunity that was built up in our body from swallowing all of the hospital water was definitely going to make us some of the healthiest persons that you could find. But of course, we know it really was not that sanitary. And so I made a commitment that I would fix the sewage plant at the hospital, or make sure that there's a sewage plant at the hospital to ensure that once the water leaves the hospital, it's in a more sanitary condition. And I'm happy to say that I've been able to deliver on that commitment as well. So there's a new sewage plant at the hospital, so the residents in Limekeel no longer have to deal with that aspect of unsanitary conditions. But it was not just about the sewage in Limekeel. Another issue that plagued the people within West Bastia was the smoke that came from the incinerator at the hospital, the open incinerator. And I know for years, living and playing within the Buckley's area in particular, that smoke was intense. And when you think of persons with asthma and other respiratory diseases, you know that that condition cannot continue. And so they reminded me that this is an issue, Minister, this is an issue, Rep. Most of them will call me Rep. So they will say, Rep, that's an issue for us. And for years we're asking for it to stop. And now you're the Minister, we need something done about it. We attempted to build an incinerator that emitted less smoke, but it still was an issue. And so what we've done is most of the burning that needs to be done of the waste in the hospital, we are doing that off-site now. So that's another one of those issues that I was able to correct for the persons in Buckley's and the surrounding communities that were affected by the smoke from the hospital. And so that's something I'm very happy to be able to do for those persons as well. But if we go back to Limekeel, so I've touched that area in terms of health and the sanitary conditions, but if I pivot again back to Limekeel, leading up to the last general election, the young men in Limekeel in particular, the basketball players, I remember them taking me to the court and showing me how they had to use ropes to hold up a makeshift backboard that they used for basketball. And I made the commitment to them that once I become the representative, I would make sure that they have the proper backboards so that they can use to play basketball. I'm happy to say that very early I was able to fulfill that commitment, and so those persons within the West Bastia can now enjoy their games since the new backboards have been installed, and so I'm very happy about that as well. Now if I move to the hospital, because of course as Minister of Health I can't come here and not talk about the hospital, and we also have to remember that apart from being the Minister with responsibility for health, JNF is in constituency number 3 as well. So that is something that persons would expect that I would make some mention of. And so I just wanted to let persons know that we have made a lot of progress on upgrading the hospital. And I know that there is, of course, a lot more that still needs to be done. I must say that I am frustrated that the the progress that we have been making so far could now be put in jeopardy by the petty political gains. I repeat that, the petty political games and egos of a small number of politicians who have put the entire Team Unity government at risk. My 5-year term as the MP for constituency 3 is only 23 months in, and there's so much work that still have to be done. But besides that, there's still a lot of upgrades and improvements that have been made at the hospital and that have already begun. For instance, we now have greater capacity where we have more specialist doctors, the vascular surgeon, for instance, so less people would be losing limbs because of that. The urologist that we already have at the hospital now. We have more emergency room doctors. We have more nurses, new ambulances. We have improved our equipment and capabilities within the radiology unit, and that unit is now digital. And we still have a new digital X-ray that should be here by June 5th and installed by June 5th. But it's not only the X-ray machines for the radiology department. One of the things that is of concern to me, of course, as a woman, is being able to have mammograms, because once you get to that nice gold ripening age, you need to be able to have mammograms often. And I found it strange that the hospital would not be able to provide that service to our women. So again, by June 5th, we should be expecting on the ground a new digital mammogram to be able to offer that service to the women within the hospital, within JNF itself. So that's something I am very happy about. Our Akilah eye clinic improved equipment as well. They can now be able to look at diseases in the back of your eye, something that we were not able to do before. And very shortly, we'll be able to provide laser eye surgery right here in St. Kitts and Nevis at our JNF hospital. And so that's something I'm very happy about. We know we talk about our hemodialysis unit, and many have complained about the hemodialysis unit and that it's so many patients, but there's not enough machines to service the number of patients. And so we find our hemodialysis unit was running sometimes from 5 in the morning until 2 a.m. the next morning. And that's a lot of pressure, not just on the staff, but also on the equipment as well. And persons having to wait to be able to get the service that they need. So what have I done since I've been there? Well, 5 new hemodialysis units should be on ground this month and installed to help with that. And so that's something I'm very happy about. And so we continue to make as much improvements as we can within JNF. Our oncology unit can now provide even more services to a wider range of cancer needs. And so we're happy to be able to provide that service. Our labs have improved in the type of testing services that we are now able to provide as well. And that's something I'm very happy about. Services that once upon a time you might have to go to a local lab, you can now get it done right at JNF. We also have portable X-ray machines, so you don't have to be wheeling patients down to radiology. We can actually take the X-ray machines right to your bedside. Same thing with ultrasound. As a mother, I understand sometimes you're in labor, you have some difficulty, and the doctors don't want you to have to walk to the ultrasound machine. We now have 3 portable ultrasound machines available as well, so be able to have bedside service at the hospital. But it's not just those big things, it's also the little things, like we have new electronic beds at the hospital, we have new trolleys and wheelchairs. And so there's a lot that we have been doing at the hospital, many of which persons haven't seen before, and a lot more I can talk about, but we have limited time, so I can't go through the whole long list. But the opportunity will come, because as I said, I don't talk much. But the opportunity will come to talk, and I'll be able to say a lot more. So whilst we are pleased this work has been done, I know there are still a lot more that we need to get done. We also have a huge amount of work to do to improve the facilities of the hospital. And I know persons have heard us talk about the Phase 3 renovation of JNF. The plans have been agreed on, and we have already begun the work of the design, having the designs done for Phase 3, which will include things such as a new intensive care unit, a new dialysis unit, a new psychiatric unit, a new MRI unit, as well as other facilities such as a staff daycare center. So now our staff won't have to be worried about where do I leave my children when I have certain shifts. They can now bring them with them to the hospital and make sure that they're in a safe environment. We would also have a cafeteria, a lecture theater, and an information technology unit once the Phase 3 of the hospital begins. So that's something that we are very happy to be able to provide, and we're looking forward to that work beginning shortly as well. Now, persons may not be aware of one of the things that we've been dealing with at the hospital, and that is for years at JNF, there have been some doctors who were being paid against staff nurses' position. I have been able to create the additional medical officers' positions so that those doctors who would have been affected will for the first time be remunerated at the correct salary scale aligned with their qualifications and their experience. So work to support our hospital, this cannot be done if we don't have a strong economy and strong economic leadership. And that's an important point that I want to bring home. There's not much you can do without a strong economy and without strong economic leadership. And that is what we have been seeing from our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. And I strongly believe that we need to continue with this strong and stable leadership. Because with a strong economy at the heart of government, if we are to continue making the investments we need, we must have a strong economy. And so I will continue to push to make sure that that leadership remains. There's nothing that beats a strong, stable leadership. And we have seen that leadership tested, tried, and true in one of the worst periods in history of this world during the pandemic. And we see how St. Kitts and Nevis came out of that. And so we have to maintain that leadership and ensure that leadership continues to grow. And I'm so proud of that. And that is something that I personally will be working to ensure that that leadership, that strong, stable leadership continues, because in order for us to achieve all the things that we need to achieve and to maintain the gains that our country have made over the past couple of years, and especially during this time of COVID, we have to maintain the leadership that we have. So, Mr. Nital, as you have seen, it's been very busy these past 23 months. Whilst getting elected would have been my greatest privilege of my lifetime, serving as MP during the global pandemic have been challenging. However, I believe that my record on delivery speaks for itself. Now, I want to speak specifically to my people of West Bastille. Since you're on the point, we got to get to the point. And so, to my people of West Bastille, now there are two who are neither equipped nor are they ready to take my place, but they are going around trying to get your support. You've seen me at work. You've seen all that I've been able to accomplish in 23 months. I have done a lot for the people of West Bastille, for the country as a whole, but I am not finished yet. I will continue to deliver on behalf of the people of West Bastille, and I will do so when I return to office after this election with your support to the benefit of all the people of West Bastille. So that's my little talk. I know it was a mouthful, but as I said, I don't talk much. I'm an action type of person, hence the slogan, Akilah can do. Because that's what I try to do, action, no lot of talking. And so tonight I just wanted to make sure that people get a glimpse into that's only some of what I have done within the last 23 months.
And then I would see you taking part in the health walk with our Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I've seen you miss any, but even the fittest of us all, at some juncture in time, we need to take a break, catch our breath, before we move on to the other segment. So we'll take a break now.
Michelle Obama once declared that success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. I stepped up to the plate as constituency representative some 6 years ago in service of the people and determined to be the difference I long to see in my constituency and the wider federation. 2 years ago, I asked the good people of West Bastille to lend me their vote. They embraced me, and I in turn embraced the roles and responsibilities that I was entrusted with. My love for my constituents deepens my commitment to my constituents. This year's theme perfectly captures my obligation as a representative and as a minister. It captures my innate desire to be of service to the people. I, Akilah Byron-Nisbett, will ensure that I deliver for the people. No promise will go unkept. No concern will go unheard. No one will be left behind. Our guiding principle as the PLP is always putting people first.
huge savings and blazing hot deals at Smart and Ireland Electronics. Shop at any 4 stores and get blazing hot deals. Get amazing savings on computers, smart TVs, stoves, refrigerators, washing machines, cell phone accessories, tablets, and smartphones starting as low as $199 and so much more. Everything you need for your home or business at great prices from some of the world's top name brands. Only at Smart Electronics at Port Zante and Highland Electronics on Ford Street. Visit your nearest store for details. Conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Welcome back to The Point. And we heard quite a mouthful from our minister, Byron-Nisbett. Now, you've only been the MP for number 3 for about 23 months. I want to tailor this. You were sent there by number 3, but you had an MP for 50,000 persons. Whatever portfolio you carry out, it is for over 50,000 persons. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to thank the persons, the electorates in number 3 for giving us such a strong blessing, especially in the area of health. That is a very sensitive area. And I'm certain you might have been just a little nervous when that particular ministry was thrown on you. But you're doing an excellent job. You have done well in 23 months, and I'm absolutely certain if they were not sabotaged with respect to your continued good performance, we would have seen more for the next 3 years to come. And I want to commend you and commend you highly. The very ticklish ministry, and you have done well.
Thank you.
You have gotten extremely good reviews from many persons who I would have spoken to, including nurses, doctors, and patients. So rest assured that they are measuring your performance. You've only been the MP for 23 months, like I would have said. Now your term cut short by the impending election. What would you say is your biggest achievement thus far?
Well, yes, wow. What would be my biggest achievement? 23 months, yes, but I would say that my biggest achievement would definitely be what we're doing for the people of Lagreed. That is something that have been dear to my heart, and one of the commitments that I certainly wanted to see fulfilled. And so it warms my heart that I've been able to fulfill that on that commitment to the people of Lagreed. I mean, being able to, I know it's not even just about land ownership, but it's a complete development that is now going to be in Lagreed. And so I am very proud and happy of that. I mean, so many families would have told me of their not having electricity and water because they don't have the proper titles. And when you think about families and the children having to live like this in this day and age, I thought that needed to be fixed and needed to be fixed quickly. And so I'm very happy to have been able to do that. And just land ownership in general, especially in number 3, because as I said, that has been something of an issue for the people in number 3. The previous administration under SKNLP, who the people of number 3 voted for 75 years until a representative like me came along. They complained bitterly about how persons from outside of number 3 were always given preference to the lands in number 3 over them. I made the commitment that in my case, I would switch that and make sure that number 3, the people of West Bastille, had opportunities for land ownership and would have first preference. And so I've been happy to be able to deliver on that. There have been many families that I was able to touch already in terms of assisting them, ensuring that they get the lands. And we will continue to do that for the people of West Bastille. Another thing that I am very happy about too is, and I didn't mention it, but I think it's important at this point to mention that another area is the lighting for all of the sporting complexes that are in West Bastia. We've been having issues with lighting on the Patsy Allers down in Limekeel and down in the Boys West Farm area. And so I have that commitment again from Sustainable Development to make sure that it was a collaboration between Sustainable Development and Sports to ensure that all of the different sporting complex within the West Bastia area will be properly outfitted with lighting. And so I am so happy to be able to report that especially to our Village Superstar team, as well as our Trafalgar South Stars, both in the Premier League in football. And the only thing they're waiting on now is to make sure that we have the proper poles in to accommodate the new lighting that will be on these fields as well. So those are the things that I'm happy about, being able to touch the different areas and different aspects of community life within the West Bastia area. Those are my proudest moments.
When the orders of continuity is signaled to you by the voters in number 3, what would you plan to do once they give you those orders, the order of continuity? They do not want, unfortunately, your rhythm would have to be broken, unfortunately. But I don't believe your mindset would change. What would you do upon giving the order of continuity by the electorates in number 3?
Good question, and it's more of the same. Continuing to deliver on the plans that we've had in place for the people of West Bastia. Continuing to connect persons in West Bastia to opportunities such as job opportunities, home ownership, land ownership, and continuing to work very closely with the various communities to identify and correct some of the issues that they have. These are the things that I want to do, to continue to deliver for the people of West Bastia, continue to be their voice within the cabinet, continue to be their voice in Parliament, continue to lobby on their behalf, and continue to make sure that all of the things that they desire for West Bastia, the improvements that we already started. You heard me just talk about the lighting of the different play fields and being able to provide for land ownership, job opportunities. These are the things that I want to continue. Put the people of West Bastia first. Allow them to feel the representation that they've always wanted to feel, and continue on the work that I have been doing within the constituency.
I'm very happy to hear about the improvement in the sewage system going down that Democrat Road. They had to dig and put in a tunnel, because quite apart from the sewage that would have gone into the Limekeel area, based on the natural dynamics of the sea, stuff from around by Fisherman's Wharf used to make its way around to Limekeel. And a concerted effort needed to be made, but nobody seemed as if they had the willpower to do that for the people of the village. And I'm very happy that you achieved that, because we know what can happen. I mean, I heard you speaking about swallowing some of the water, and that might have built your immunity. But there's always the possibility of people producing deformed babies when you have so much pathogens going into that Limekeel area. The wastewater treatment plant at the hospital hardly functioned properly for a lot of years. And we must give praise to Mr. Molly, somebody who I would have gone there to assist on many occasions to ensure that the effluent that was leaving the hospital was of reasonable quality, and we did not want it to fall too close inshore, so we had to put some offshore piping. So it would go way out, and the sea dynamics would take it further away from the shore. I want to congratulate you and really commend you highly for making a concerted effort to have that there corrected.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Do we have, still few, we have any callers as yet? No, so we continue. You've had a difficult ministry, some might say the most difficult of them all. That is the Ministry of Health. What has been your focus since you took over as the health minister?
Okay. My focus, I would start first with the improvements that we would have made in JNF, and you would have heard me speak to a lot of those improvements that we've already made at JNF, and those are things that I am very proud of. You also heard me speak to the start of the phase 3, the long-awaited, over 20 years we've been waiting for this phase 3 of the hospital, and so that is something that I am was also focused on while there for the 23 months. But more importantly, once I got into the Ministry of Health, I was given the breakdown of the structure of the ministry. And a lot of the times we hear a lot of talk about the hospital and JNF, but persons don't pay attention to the community health. And once I got in there, I realized the importance for us to actually build out our community health and increase the focus on preventative care. Preventative care is what allows persons to be able to meet the whatever issues they have without having to go to the hospital level. Hospital level is supposed to be a last expensive hospital, especially that for diseases that once you treat them early through preventative and primary care, we would not have to be at hospital level. The amount of money that some people spend for some of the issues that they have, it's because we lost focus of preventative and primary care. And so what I have done is to begin to speak about the community and the importance of that preventative care, making sure that our health centers and the work that we do in community in particular is more visible and is more easily accessible. We're building on our work that we're doing in NCDs. For too long we keep hearing about NCDs as one of our major, that's non-communicable diseases, diabetes, obesity. We're hearing about these things over and over. That is an issue. We have too many persons with these diseases. We have too many persons that fall victim to these different diseases that are preventable. And with a simple change in the way that you care for yourself, you wouldn't have to have amputations. You wouldn't have to end up in dialysis. It starts first with preventative care. And for me, I found it, and I still find it intriguing that with doctors at the helm of some of these administration, enough wasn't done to highlight the importance of preventative and primary care and the community health. And so I've been trying my best to work with the community side of things, work along with the community nurses and with the different clinics, etc. Our SKN Moves initiative that would build more focus on the need for us to make sure we eat healthy, to make sure we're exercising regularly, but more importantly that we're doing our regular screening and checks to avoid us getting to that level where we need to be hospitalized or have to go overseas for even more expensive care. And so I've started programs like the In Your Kitchen program, teaching persons how to cook healthier for their families. Persons with diabetes, teaching you a new way and a new lifestyle of cooking and feeding your family so that you reduce the risk of your diabetic condition becoming even more critical. And so those are the type of things that I have been focusing on in the last 2 years that I have been there. And of course, COVID. We cannot forget that COVID have taken 18 out of those 23 months. And so another one of my focus was making sure we save lives with our life first approach to COVID-19 and fighting COVID-19, keeping our hospitals from being overwhelmed. Those are the type of things that I would have been focusing on during the 23 months that I've been there.
And those of you who are listening, you can get us at 760-3049. Kindly give us a call at any time now. We are prepared to answer and facilitate your calls. And I think that you worked considerably well in conjunction with our Prime Minister to afford some reduction in some of the charges at the hospital. The oncology lab is doing a great job. And I know a family member who got a bill for $108,000. And when the Prime Minister announced, I think it was a 50% reduction in expenses, whether by the oncology or by the dialysis unit area, it was most welcome. And long time I thought that the government could have subsidized that. But then you have to take your time. You can only do things incrementally. Even if you want to take 10 steps, you must start with one. And I think that it can only get better.
And it was the same reduction as well for those persons at the hemodialysis unit as well. So it was both oncology and hemodialysis that we were able to reduce the costs to the individuals by 50%. At the time of your greatest need, you don't want to have to be challenged with the financial burden. So that is something else that we've done as well.
Good evening. Welcome to the point. Hello.
Hello, good night.
Hello.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I'm calling to ask a question.
Hello, we have experienced a little technical glitch while we were trying to accommodate that call. Good evening. Welcome to the point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Yes.
Hi, good evening.
I am so impressed. I don't think people understand how difficult it is for you. You're a newcomer, you think politics is new things for you, and the fact that you came in during a very difficult time under difficult circumstances, COVID, and that is one of the reasons why I don't think anybody appreciates enough what you have done. Having portfolios that you have to deal with and having to deal with the consistency that you're in, it's very, very difficult. If you would have only completed that one task of giving back the land to the people of Latin, that is enough. I mean, that is something I've been looking at for how many years, and the fact that you would have come in and you would have recognized that it's something that is paramount importance, and not just recognize it, but you would have completed that, it's good, you have to you. People are complaining about situations at the hospital. I'm happy that you would have had the chance to tell us, some of the improvements. If you go to the hospital every day, it's not an area that you would want to try to find out, about the improvements that were done. And we are very grateful that you can come out tonight and actually say, because people have been complaining about the face basin situation. You go to the care situation, people have been complaining. But like Nisha would have said to you, is that it's not just health that you have to look after. I was very much impressed with the talent, the effort that you put into recognizing talent again and thinking, because people are focusing just on health, but you have a lot of different portfolios, and for the fact that you have just came in the race, a woman who have responsibilities of her own, a husband and children that you have to basically maneuver through. You have done a great job. I want to congratulate you on a job well done, and you would have only done this in 23 months. The question I'm going to ask you is, I know you have a very short time in which you accomplish others. What is priority on your list right now of things that you think that you have to complete? And I want to say that the show is a great one. It's very informative, and I'll continue to listen off here.
Thank you so much.
Could we take a break? I need to indicate something. We'll take a break and then we'll come back.
We continue to expand our emergency medical services
as this is an integral and vital first point of access to a healthcare system for many. We have added 10 new positions for doctors working in the emergency room and covering other services on the ward. This not only gives them job security with benefits, but also significantly boosts the manpower at the emergency room, where most shifts will now have 2 doctors providing cover. We have also added 3 positions for physician assistants to help with triaging. The complaint of long waits at the emergency room will be a thing of the past. We have added and are in the process of adding additional specialists, including a general surgeon, ENT surgeon, oncologist, pediatrician, urologist, vascular surgeon, and radiologist. This significantly broadens the scope of specialist care provided at the Jean France Hospital. We added 3 new ambulances to our fleet, bringing the total to 9, which means that at your time of need, trained medical professionals can get you quicker. We continue with staff development and training, and just in the month of May, we had a new graduating class of EMTs and nursing attendants who completed training in 2021 despite the limitations imposed by COVID. We will now have a full cadre of EMT technicians to operate 3 full shifts at the 3 major health institutions. Significant funds have also been provided for professional development, both at the institutional level and the community, with a focus on improved customer service. We have expanded our nursing staff by recruiting more nurses from overseas, while we continue to expand the number of nurses trained locally. Over the past year, 34 specialist nurses have been recruited to provide specialist nursing care at oncology, hemodialysis, accident and emergency, community health, intensive care, operating theater, and psychiatry. We have also doubled the number of trained senior nurses per ward working with junior staff.
Get huge savings and blazing hot deals at Smart and Ireland Electronics. Shop at any 4 stores and get blazing hot deals. Get amazing savings on computers, smart TVs, stoves, refrigerators, washing machines, cell phone accessories, tablets, and smartphones starting as low as $199 and so much more. Everything you need for your home or business at great prices from some of the world's top name brands. Only at Smart Electronics at Port Zante and Highland Electronics on Ford Street. Visit your nearest store for details. Conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Welcome back to The Point, and we are accepting your calls. I think that the minister would have had a call and she would like to respond.
Yeah.
Good.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, good night. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Yeah, good night, Brother Nital. Good night, and good night to the Honorable Akilah Byron-Nisbett. Good night. This is Mr. Politics here.
Hi, Mr. Politics.
Good night, yeah. But I always want to thank God for life.
Indeed.
Thank God for the Federation of Think It Nevis, a country we're born into and live into and doing well up to now. Now, Mr. Akilah Byron, well, you're right to the point tonight. You're right to the point. Because I tell people it's only 2015 you're elected. But they think that only 2020 you're elected. Sorry about that. Because they think that you're elected 2020 and saying this and saying that. But they must understand you're elected under the pandemic, when the pandemic was around. And you was more taking up on the medical part of it. Because everybody knew what COVID was doing.
destroying the whole world. And as the Minister of Health, with the CMO and the Dr. Wilkinson, you all have done well. I do not know that if it wasn't for your all wisdom and your ideas you had, with the CMO you get to work around you. I don't know how we'll get it done, because that was your first ministry as a first parliamentarian, and you have done well. So I just call in on the people of this constituency number 3 just to stop, look and listen and think wisely. Not let nobody fool them. Miss Byron, you have done well in just the 23 months you're there for. You have done enough, especially for the people of Flagreet and the people of constituency in constituency West Boys, with some of the roads you fixed down there. I hear people complaining all the time. Oh, you know this, you know that. Look the amount of land you say you don't go to, you're there. Man, we must get a conscience. And I just call in the good citizen citizen of constituency number 3, especially in my area and in the village, to continue, because you got to continue this work. We cannot give up right now. And the leadership of Dr. Howe is a great leader. You all have a wonderful night. May God bless the Federation of Think It Anyways. Miss Byron, God bless you and be strong.
Thank you so much,
Be strong. But then you tell,
yes, sir.
I like how you answer asking the question them, you know?
I'm trying my best.
Than that.
Try my best with the help of God.
Okay.
Would you... Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello. Hello. It doesn't seem as if we have... Okay, we have one. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Minister Akilah. How are you?
Good evening. I'm great, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thanks.
Awesome.
Many persons are saying, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, many persons are saying that you haven't done anything in healthcare and that they are disappointed in your performance. Do you think perhaps you're not suited for this ministry? And my another question is, what is your vision for our healthcare if elected as the Minister of Health in the upcoming elections? And lastly, number 3, there are many people living on the road and they're vulnerable. There's a high number of persons with mental illness roaming the streets. What strides have you made as the Minister of Health so far since elected in addressing this call? I await your answers and thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we take a break and provide the minister with an opportunity. Break from the calls and provide the minister with an opportunity to respond.
All right, so I'll take this off because you can hear the phones ringing through the headphones. So I'd like to thank the callers who have already called in thus far. If I start first with the first caller, which asked me about what is priority on the list of things that I would like to complete, I would definitely say number 1 would be the making sure that the Lagri land ownership is completed, make sure that the infrastructure is in. That is something that I am very passionate about and I would want to be able to see completed. The other thing would be the Carden home. I will want to make sure that we're able to complete the renovations on the Carden home, as well as to be able to provide more space at Carden home so that we can accommodate more residents. As it is right now, we don't have enough space, and so I am pretty much at a point where it's something that is very much needed, and so I want to make sure that that too is something that we prioritize going forward. And then of course in terms of sports, we'd want to make sure that the lighting of the fields are completed as well, so that our football teams in particular are able to practice in proper lighting, and so that is something that I would want to see continue as well. Mr. Politics, I just want to thank Mr. Politics for his call and for his kind words and his continued encouragement. As Mr. Politics said, we really can't risk the gains that we have made in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we have to ensure that we do everything that we can to maintain the leadership that we have within this country so as not to risk those gains. In number 3, we cannot risk the gains that we have made within that constituency for land ownership opportunities, for being able to have the opportunity, the job opportunities, and all the other things, the lagweed, the carding home, the sewage issues that we rectified. All of these gains, we can't afford to risk those. And there's so much more that we still need to do. But I would also like to take the opportunity, just as Mr. Politics did, to just congratulate and to thank the staff of the Ministry of Health. All of our nurses, doctors, cleaners, the laboratory staff, some of the staff you don't even see, who have been working diligently with over the past 2 years to keep us safe. I must say thank you to all of them. And as Mr. Politics said, it was this team of people who made it possible. And I strongly believe that I came in and met a very strong team in health, and the work that they have done from the medical chief of staff, the CMO, the matron, and all of the nurses, the doctors, the lab staff, the quality of work that they have done. I am really happy to have seen that, and I'm happy to have been a part of that team working through a time of crisis when so much we had to do, and I'm so happy and proud of what we were able to accomplish, and at the same time still able to maintain all of our regular health services. So that's something I'm very pleased about, and I'm thankful to the staff of the Ministry of Health for providing that level of support. Now, there was a caller that spoke to not having anything done in healthcare. I think my presentation would have answered her questions in terms of what have been done. Again, 23 months, 18 of which would have been under COVID. And I have clearly articulated tonight, and I'm sure after this program the caller can go back. And there will be a lot more to speak about in terms of the achievements in health within these 23 months. From the hemodialysis to oncology, to the lab services, to the new beds, to the new wheelchairs, to the new trolleys, to the improved lab services, and so much more that have been done in health. Things seen and unseen, the upgrade of the radiology unit, providing mammogram in St. Kitts. That's something that we haven't had at the hospital for years. Things seen and unseen. And there's a lot more, again, that I can talk about that this program would not be able to provide me. But the time for talking is nigh, and I would have an opportunity to come back again. And so I would encourage the individual to just recap the program from this evening. When we are done, the live video would be available, and she can always go back and listen to that live, listen to the video, the footage, and she'll be able to hear exactly what I've just articulated in terms of the achievements that I've made in health.
And a few seconds before we resume calls, she spoke about persons with mental health. And most persons are aware that there is a mental health daycare treatment down at Limekiln.
Yes, correct.
And families can take their family members there and about 8 o'clock, pick them back up at 4 o'clock. But we have to emphasize that family has a role to play with their family member, the relatives who are experiencing mental challenges. You just do not put them out there. You cannot leave everything up to the government. Family therapy is key when dealing with persons with mental challenges. And we have a lot of family disassociating themselves from the family members who at that time, at that juncture in their lives, would need to be embraced. So we cannot afford to let them go free and make it seem as if nobody taking care of them. You have a responsibility to work with the government. You have a responsibility.
But I also want to add to as well in terms of the mental health aspect of it. We've just recently added a psychiatrist to staff. Previously, within the entire health system, there was only one psychiatrist. And having come in and see
that one psychiatrist to cover hospital needs at the psychiatric unit and still cover community need and the the day treatment center. I thought that was too much for one. And I thought it was important to bring in an additional psychiatrist who will have stationed at community level at the day treatment center, but also assigned to community to assist with our mental health patients at that level as well. And so these are some of the things that I've just recently introduced, and we are doing a complete
rework of the entire structures that we use for mental health. And so over time, persons will hear of these changes that we are making. I've been in meetings with the CMO and the Director of Community Health Services, who have been working tirelessly with me to see how we can restructure on the community side so that it augments and assists with the institution side, get better referral from institution into the day treatment center, into community, and follow those patients throughout their times to make sure that they're taking their medications, to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So a complete restructure is taking place in the background, first starting with the addition of the new psychiatrist who is already on island and who will be placed within community and at the day treatment center to start building out those new structures in mental health.
Okay, may we resume the calls, please?
Hello?
Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Good night to you, Mr. Nital, and good night to the Honorable Minister Akilah Byron-Nisbett.
Good night, sir.
I want to greet you, Minister. I want to commend you first for the work that you have been doing in your constituency of West Bastia.
Thank you.
I am indeed impressed. I would have heard you listed earlier on your achievements in the community of Lagreed, and also your upcoming plans for land distribution in Trinity, which is one of the issues that West Bastia faces most, which is the issue of land and access to land and homes. One of the questions, I first want to commend you too as Minister of Health, because you would have taken on the Minister of Health when across the region, every person would have been running away from that ministry. And so it shows that you have that tenacity and the willpower to do whatever you put your mind to. And I want to commend you on that as well.
Thank you.
I would have missed a portion of the segment because I tried to call in, and in calling in I would have been out from a little bit away from the radio. I want to put to you a question or make a suggestion, which I see you have been making some effort, where the Ministry of Entertainment is concerned. Because, you know, in going forward, the orange economy is the way forward.
Correct.
For St. Kitts, I see the orange economy as an aspect of the economy that we need to focus on.
Absolutely.
As the IMF report would have concluded in September of 2021, that St. Kitts now needs to look at ways and means of diversifying its economy. And I believe that orange economy brings a lot of prospects to it.
Correct.
But I would have seen you laid out some things in the Ministry of Entertainment, and I'd love to hear you speak a little bit more on some of those things that you have been doing there, because I believe that a wide cross-section of audience that I listen will want to see what, in going forward, you will be doing for entertainment, which is an avenue I believe that is a real tree that is ripe for the picking, and it is something that St. Kitts can look forward to. The other question I have as well, more so of a suggestion. I want to tell you to continue the hard work that you've been doing. It's not easy. Your term has been cut short by political pettiness and vindictiveness, if we want to use that term. But I want to encourage you. Like in 2020, I believed in you when a lot of people did not believe that you could win. I'm not originally from St. Kitts and Nevis, but I want to say I sat afar off looking on your political career, and I said to many persons then that you would win. And I would say to them again, without a shadow of doubt, that you know how to win,
You know what it takes to win, and you will win. So I ask you to just stay close to your people, make time for your people, and the love that they have for you will in turn be returned in that polling station.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thank you very much, Minister. You have a good night, and you too,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mittal.
Thank you.
Okay,
You
thanks
as
much.
well.
Do you have a next call? Could you
All
mind
right,
addressing
so
what the
while we
gentleman
wait
said?
for another call, I want to thank that caller so much for that call. And he would have spoken to the new Ministry of Entrepreneurship, Entertainment and Talent Development. And yes, there have been so much that we have been doing in that ministry as well. And as he rightfully said, it is time for us to start thinking about this as the new orange economy. It's not just about entertainment and in terms of parties and fetes, but we have to start thinking of it even bigger than that and think about the entire creative sector and industry as a whole, and how can we be able to develop value generating creative and innovative talents. How can we monetize our creative and innovative talent? How can we truly build a strong orange economy here in St. Kitts and Nevis? And we like to talk about the fact that in St. Kitts and Nevis we have a lot of talent, and that is true. The raw talent we certainly have, but as we have been going through building out this new ministry, and people, one of the things I think people miss as well when it comes to this new ministry is just that it's new. We started with a blank slate, no staff or anything, not even a place, no. When we came in 2020 in June, we didn't even have a budget yet, because the budgeting cycle is December to this. From January to December is our budget cycle. So then we had to wait until December in order for us to put in our bid for the funding that we needed. And so what we have been doing what we started doing was really laying the foundational work that is necessary in order for us to build a ministry. Unlike the others that would have had a foundation, this had nothing. And so we were given a blank slate that we were happy to be able to build on. And as we began speaking with creatives and engaging even creatives outside of St. Kitts and Nevis, we were able to identify the direction in which we wanted to take this new ministry. And as this individual rightly said, what we're doing right now is trying to build an orange economy here in St. Kitts and Nevis, seeing how we can make the creative economy truly work as a viable source of income and income generating economy for St. Kitts and Nevis. And we are trying to build our young talent within the areas of music and entertainment, film and photography, the arts, which includes theater arts, visual arts, etc., as well as innovation. And we're trying to provide the training necessary. Just recently, we would have done 2 workshops for music and entertainment in particular, because what we realize is that our young musical talent, they only have a small snippet of what the overall big picture of the music industry is. And we've just recently conducted 2 training sessions with them to try to bring them to that international standard so that we can begin to export their talent and as well as import revenue from their talents as well. And so we just finished, one was a making money in music training, which was in collaboration with ECHO and the IP office, for them to be able to sensitize our practitioners on the importance of commercialization of their intellectual property. We had target around 40 practitioners for that. We got around 36, which we were happy to be able to have, and that one covered topics such as intellectual property rights and copy and trademarks, royalties, music in the Caribbean, and collective management organizations. The second one was a big one where we discussed the business of music, and that training workshop we saw music executives from Canada and the United States, as well as Barbados and Trinidad, who would have come in to do a 4-day workshop with our music creatives. That one focused on artist development and managing, recording, marketing, distribution, touring, content creation, brand marketing, entertainment law, music publishing, and copyright. And so these are the type of things that we were able to do so far in the music industry, because the aim really is for us to be able to develop our local talent and make sure that they have the requisite skill sets that they need to actually make it within the industry. Take your talent and make your talent actually make money for you by doing the right things and approaching it from a business perspective. So those are some of the things that we've done so far. And there's a lot more to talk about in regards to that as well. But I know time is limited, and I think we have more callers.
Do we have calls? Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Good evening, Mr. Nidal.
Hi, good evening.
And good evening to your host, to you, Ms. Byron.
Good evening.
Mr. Byron, Ms. Byron, good evening. First, I was waiting for a call from you based on the meeting, and I haven't heard from you up until now. Let's move on. I hear you say certain things tonight.
Oh.
I live in number 3, Ms. Nisbett. And I know the whole one is in number 3. Let me ask you the first question. The Chandra Atherton clearly got that in number 3? Hello?
Just make your contribution and she'll take time to respond.
Yes. Chandra Atherton clearly got a big piece of land in number 3. That's the first question. I hear you say about drain from the hospital. What you're saying, you're going to fix the drain or the drain don't fix? Because as far as I see, the drain from the hospital remain the same. We got to talk this out, you know. Mr. Byron, Timothy has got 15 houses. He keep all 15. He ain't give you 1. I need to stop 4 people.
Five more seconds. 5 more seconds.
The other people talk long little. Don't let us fall out tonight. Please, let me make a point. I live in 3. Don't watch me off this phone. And
speak up fast. 5 seconds, Scope. Yeah, but we have the program going. You could call back if you want, but we just have to go on our time limit. Do we have a next caller? If not, you may respond.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nital. Yes, I would definitely love to be able to respond to that. Mr. Crook would have brought with him, I think it was 4 or 5 other young ladies to my office to discuss the issue at my constituency office there in Limekeel, to discuss the issue of the severance. You know, he's been talking about the severance, and in that discussion, they would have indicated that they wanted to be able to have a discussion with the Department of Labor to get a better explanation as to why they would not have been able to receive the severance. And leaving that meeting, I said, okay, that's fair enough. It's only fair for you to get the information that you needed. And so then I would have made contact with the minister, and the minister would have indicated to me that they have already had meetings with Mr. Cook and the team to explain to them how this works. A number of meetings would have already been held. Once she gave me that information, we would have made contact from my constituency office. We tried to call Mr. Cook. We were not getting Mr. Cook, but they also provided us with a number for another young lady who was with them. And so we'd have called her and explained to her what would have been explained to us. And so I did follow up from the conversation and discussions that they would have had in the office. One of the things I think Mr. Cook would have misunderstood, I didn't speak about the drain in particular. What I spoke about was the sewage that was going from hospital down through Limekeel into Limekeel Bay. We've put in a sewage plant so that there's no longer sewage going from hospital down the drains in Limekeel to the Limekeel Bay. the sewage is cleaned out, and so it's just liquid now that is flowing down. Clean liquid flowing down from the hospital down to Limekeel Bay. And so I just wanted him to be aware.
I am the one who made mention of that, because when I worked at the Department of Environment as project officer, there was a tunnel, so to speak, placed in the center of Democrat Road to take the effluent from the hospital down into the Limekeel region. And they even put in some outfall, you call them, where the effluent would eventually go out several hundred meters out, so that it would not eventually, in an adverse manner, impact the persons using the beaches down at Limekeel. So I am the one who, and it is not a surface, it is
and that was what was done years ago. And so what we did is install a sewage plant now, so that you don't have that flowing down anymore.
So you have a better quality effluent
flowing down instead of how it was previously. And so that is what I was speaking to. So I just wanted him to be clear on that, and I hope that has been made clear enough to him now.
We have callers. Do we take a break? Okay, let us do that right now.
Get huge savings and blazing hot deals at Smart and Ireland Electronics. Shop at any 4 stores and get blazing hot deals. Get amazing savings on computers, smart TVs, stoves, refrigerators, washing machines, cell phone accessories, tablets, and smartphones, starting as low as $199, and so much more. Everything you need for your home or business at great prices from some of the world's top name brands. Only at Smart Electronics at Port Zante and Highland Electronics on Ford Street. Visit your nearest store for details. Conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Michelle Obama once declared that success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. I stepped up to the plate as constituency representative some 6 years ago in service of the people and determined to be the difference I long to see in my constituency and the wider federation. 2 years ago, I asked the good people of West Bastille to lend me their vote. They embraced me, and I in turn embraced the roles and responsibilities that I was entrusted with. My love for my constituents deepens my commitment to my constituents. This year's theme perfectly captures my obligation as a representative and as a minister. It captures my innate desire to be of service to the people. I, Akilah Byron-Nisbett, will ensure that I deliver for the people. No promise will go unkept. No concern will go unheard. No one will be left behind. Our guiding principle as the PLP is always putting people first.
Back to the point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Do we have calls? Good evening. Welcome to the point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello.
Hi, good night, Miss Al.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Akilah Byron-Nisbett.
Hi, good night.
Akilah, this is Tarisha.
Hi, Ta.
Akilah, I have a question for you. What do you think has been your biggest achievement as Minister for Health?
Thank you for that question, Ta.
Okay.
You facilitate the next 2 questions. Good evening. Welcome to the point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Hi, good night. How are you doing?
Hi, good night. We're doing just fine. We hope the same can be said about you.
Great. My question for Minister Byron is, as one of the most senior women in politics, what is your message to other women who are thinking about entering politics?
Thank you for that question.
Quite appropriate. If
Very
you
much
continue
so.
to listen, you'll get her response. We could first facilitate the next one, please, before the minister responds. No? Okay, you'll go into your response, Minister.
All right, sure. So one of the questions that would have been asked is, what has been my biggest achievement as Minister of Health? I would certainly say having been able, I've discussed health quite a bit tonight, and there's so much things that we would have achieved within the Ministry of Health. But I really am proud of the work that we would have achieved in terms of being able to provide new equipment for our radiology unit, the mammogram, which I spoke to earlier. Women of a certain age who needs to have that done can now have that done at the hospital. And I can speak of all of the upgrades that we've already spoken about. But one thing that was dear to me was community health and preventative and primary care. And I remember when I entered into the Ministry of Health, I challenged the health promotion unit for us to make community health sexy again. Let people want to be able to take care of their preventative and primary health care. Let us be more in the public's eye. Let's reach out to the communities. Let us not wait for people to come to us. Let us go out, do all the screenings that we have to do, and get people used to the idea and importance of preventative care. And being able to do that, I think it was just a few weeks ago, I was in the supermarket and a lady stopped me and she said to me, since I've been there, what she've noticed is that you hear so much more about health. You see health, you feel health a lot more. The videos that we do speaking about the importance of lowering the amount of salt intake, because again, preventative steps that lead you from getting to critical stages within the health system. And so yes, it's important all that we've done at the institutional level, but the work that we've done at the community level, getting the message out about the importance of primary and preventative care, that's something I'm very happy about. Now, we had another question which was asked of me regarding being one of the most senior women in politics. What would be my advice to other women? My advice is simple. Go for it. Make sure that you don't be afraid of what people tell you may be limitations. Women are just as capable as men are in order to be able to be in positions of influence and positions where decisions are being made. Too long we have women it seems as if women are not supposed to be seated at tables making the decisions on behalf of the country. But how would a woman's voice be heard, and how would we be able to make change relevant to women if more women are not at the table? We need to remove those barriers that tell us that we are not capable and put ourselves out there, step out. Step out of your comfort zones. Just like how men can take anything and you could say anything about them and they continue to lead and continue to push based on whatever their goals are. That's the same stance that we need. It doesn't have to just be politics. It's just leadership in general. I think as women, we just need to be confident and we need to move purposeful. Because we do need more women sitting at the table so that we can have that level of empathy that is required to lead, especially in crisis times, and that we can have the views relevant to women being addressed as well. So many changes can happen, and we've seen it with persons who are countries who have women as leaders. We see how well they have been doing. So I would encourage other women to step forward, step out in politics. There are some women who are now coming on the scene. We have more women now participating than we've ever had before, but there's still so much more women that we may need to have stepped forward. And I'm looking forward to the day when our country can be run by a whole slate of women even, so that we can see a lot more progressive changes that we desire.
Could we have a caller? Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Hello, good night, Mr. Nital.
Hi, good night.
Good night, the Honorable Akilah Byron-Nisbett.
Good night.
This is Dennis.
Hello.
Question, what do you see as the major challenges facing St. Kitts and Nevis?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take just a few calls and then she'll get a chance to respond to your question. You have a next caller? Okay, you have a question there. Okay, we have a call. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Caller here?
Yes. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Yes, good night. Yes, this is WINNMedia. Just want to acknowledge the Minister, Akilah Byron-Nisbett. A few persons would have asked questions I would have liked asked before, so I'm going to make it brief. Ms. Byron-Nisbett, you spoke about the development in the Shadwell area. Lagweed. Could you give a definite time frame, because I know it means a lot to you, and I'm happy that you spoke about it, but I guess the people will feel a bit more better if they could get a time frame when they could actually become homeowners of these lands that left abandoned. Also, you have an area which is a bit small in terms of land space. What are your plans for the near future when you get re-elected in terms of allocating lands and houses for the persons of East Bastia? And I just want to tell you, good luck going forward. I know you're working hard. Like one of the callers said, that you are a mother. And people say, but Bucky, I can't get to see Miss Byron. Let them know every Tuesday and Thursday you made yourself available out of the ministry and also your daily schedule to see the people of East Bastia. This is Bucky, and Bucky Antarit, over now.
Yeah, I think Bucky meant West Bastia.
Yes.
But we all think under pressure sometimes. Do we have the next call? Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Do we have the next call?
Random, somebody has something to say.
Hello. Yes. Good night. Yeah, go ahead. Good evening. We are hearing you.
Okay. They said the call was dropped.
Okay.
So I'll just go now and try to work with some of the questions that have been asked. I'll start with Bucky first in terms of my plans for the near future in terms of land ownership. And I would have discussed that quite a bit already this evening in terms of what we are doing with regards to having already identified lands within the Trinity area. So I won't go back over that again. And he is correct. Every Thursday, I make myself available in the constituency office. Previously, I would have done it from 2 to 5, and now I'm doing it from 9 until 5. So persons within the constituency. I made a promise to the people in number 3 that I will not close my constituency office once elected. And so I kept the doors of my constituency open. Even during the pandemic, when we had a lot of restrictions, one of the best ways to reach people was being able to do it through the constituency office. And so I maintained my hours at the constituency office even after being elected. Persons would recall that prior to being elected, when I was a caretaker for number 3, I would have had office hours on Wednesdays, and I promised to maintain those hours. And so since being elected, I've made myself available to the people of number 3 every Thursday. And that's something that I will continue to do as long as I am the representative. He also asked about the time frame when the persons in Lagweed will be given their land ownership papers. I think I also addressed that as well.
Yes.
And I would have indicated that very shortly we'll be having the handing over ceremony for those titles. And I also indicated that Skelec would have begun work in putting down the poles and those things necessary for the utilities in particular. So I would have addressed those earlier in tonight's meeting. I was asked, what do you see as the major challenges facing St. Kitts and Nevis? For me, I'm simplistic. And I think that whenever it is that we come to a point where we're at the elections, once again, there's something that rears its head in St. Kitts and Nevis, and that is we seem to always be separated. And what we have proven when Team Unity first began in 2015 is that when we work together, when we do not look at things from a political party or color line, there's so much more that we can achieve. We are now going back to an elections, and the elections and where we are right now, you are seeing that sense of division wanting to creep in again. And to me, that would just put a damper on the gains that we have made. If we go back to that mentality where I am this or I am that. I am so proud of the political party that I am deputy leader and with the leadership that we have, because for us, we want to continue on that path of working together, because we see how working together have allowed our country to grow in leap and bounds, and the amount of gains we've made because of working together. And I would think that once we can get past that, this divisive type of mentality that if you are not with me, then I can't work with you. Because we've proven that when as just being Kittitians and Nevisians working together, there's so much we can achieve.
And I don't know if you're aware of the narrative that would have started Byron-Nisbett as Deputy Prime Minister. We have a caller. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Good night.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Mr. Natal and Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Good night.
First, I would like to commend you, Minister Byron, on the excellent job that you have been doing thus far on a local level as it pertains to your constituency, through the many programs you have implemented to assist your constituents, and also on a national level through your multiple ministries.
Thank you.
There are two questions that I would like to pose. One, there has been talk recently about the acquisition of an MRI machine at the GNS. Could you clarify if this is true and how soon it will be acquired? My second question is the new housing project that you spoke of in Trinity. Is it an NHC initiative, and would it be exclusive to the constituents of West Bastia only?
Okay, we'll take a few more questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. They're very appropriate. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, hi, good evening. Nice having you.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Natal. Good evening, Honorable Minister Akilah Byron-Nisbett.
Good evening.
Well, I have no question tonight or concerns, but, I would just like to say that, you should continue doing a good job in representing your constituency and keep on fighting for the betterment of the lives of the people of constituency number 3.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank you for finally addressing the language issue, something that has been plaguing this constituency for over 30 years. And, it's about time to see that persons in that area are now able to have a better life, be able to improve the conditions of living just because of your simple gesture. It might be simple to you, but it's a huge effort to the constituency. And just want you to know that we in constituency number 3 have your back, and we will continue fighting with you, not only for you, but with you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Truly appreciate that.
When someone is working so hard, it is important that contributions of that nature would come in, because they are the soothing and
Yes.
encouraging.
Indeed.
Do we have a next caller? Okay, we take some time out now for the minister to address.
Yes, so the caller would have asked about the MRI machine at JNF. I think the individual would have recalled that in December during the budget address, the Prime Minister would have indicated that the funding have been allocated for the MRI machine. We are working towards incorporating the MRI, and then tonight I would have indicated that we are working towards incorporating the MRI machine and the MRI unit in particular within the build-out of the phase 3 of JNF Hospital. So the designs are now being completed. Once those are completed, then the work will begin to build out the phase 3 of the JNF Hospital, and that will include a unit, a MRI unit at the Joseph and France General Hospital. In terms of the lands in Trinity, I think she asked if it was housing, and it's not a housing development. I would have spoken to a land development under sustainable development, where they're making lands available in constituency number 3 in West Bastia. So it's not NHC, it's sustainable because it's lands that is being offered in West Bastia. Yes. Any more questions?
Could we take a break if we do not have any calls? Okay.
Get huge savings and blazing hot deals at Smart and Ireland Electronics. Shop at any 4 stores and get blazing hot deals. Get amazing savings on computers, smart TVs, stoves, refrigerators, washing machines, cell phone accessories, tablets, and smartphones, starting as low as $199, and so much more. Everything you need for your home or business at great prices from some of the world's top name brands. Only at Smart Electronics at Port Zante and Highland Electronics on Ford Street. Visit your nearest store for details. Conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Because sometimes they tell me a call coming, and I agree with you. You got to elaborate as much as you got. It is you.
Michelle Obama once declared that success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. I stepped up to the plate as constituency representative some 6 years ago, in service of the people and determined to be the difference I long to see in my constituency and the wider federation. 2 years ago, I asked the good people of West Bastia to lend me their vote. They embraced me, and I in turn embraced the roles and responsibilities that I was entrusted with. My love for my constituents deepens my commitment to my constituents. This year's theme perfectly captures my obligation as a representative and as a minister. It captures my innate desire to be of service to the people. I, Akilah Byron-Nisbett, will ensure that I deliver for the people. No promise will go unkept. No concern will go unheard. No one will be left behind. Our guiding principle as the PLP is always putting people first.
We continue to expand our emergency medical services, as this is an integral and vital first point of access to our healthcare system for many. We have added 10 new positions for doctors working in the emergency room and covering other services on the ward. This not only gives them job security with benefits, but also significantly boosts the manpower at the emergency room, where most shifts will now have 2 doctors providing cover. We have also added 3 positions for physician assistants to help with triaging. The complaint of long waits at the emergency room will be a thing of the past.
We have added and are in the process of adding additional specialists, including a general surgeon, ENT surgeon, oncologist, pediatrician, urologist, vascular surgeon, and radiologist. This significantly broadens the scope of specialist care provided at the Jeanne France Hospital. We added 3 new ambulances to our fleet, bringing the total to 9, which means that at your time of need, trained medical professionals can get you quicker. We continue with staff development and training, and just in the month of May, we had a new graduating class of EMTs and nursing attendants who completed training in 2021 despite the limitations imposed by COVID. We will now have a full cadre of EMT technicians to operate 3 full shifts at the 3 major health institutions. Significant funds have also been provided for professional development, both at the institutional level and the community, with a focus on improved customer service. We have expanded our nursing staff by recruiting more nurses from overseas, while we continue to expand the number of nurses trained locally. Over the past year, 34 specialist nurses have been recruited to provide specialist nursing care at oncology, hemodialysis, accident and emergency, community health, intensive care, operating theater, and psychiatry. We have also doubled the number of trained senior nurses per ward working with junior staff.
Welcome back to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Now, Minister Byron-Nisbett, at the last election you campaigned under a Team Unity banner. So what is your message to PAM supporters in constituency number 3 who may have voted for you previously but now have a PAM candidate to vote for?
Well, Mr. Nital, my advice to them is simple. I came to you as an individual who was ready to serve. I made commitments that were to the benefit of all of the residents of constituency number 3. It didn't matter at that time the party affiliation. We were not seeing party colors at that time. Together, we have made progress and we have moved the constituency forward. Now is not the time for us to put that progress that we have made at risk. And so we have to really be mindful of that when we are voting next elections. There was quite a bit of gain that we have made, and we did it together. We did not look at party lines, and that is what we want to continue going forward even after this general elections.
Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello. Hi, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett. Hello. We're essaying our best to ensure that your call is... Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Hello, good evening. Hello? Yes, you...
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Yes, we are hearing you.
Hello?
I think that you would have to constrain yourself to... Good evening. Hello?
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, Mr. Nital.
Hi, good night, sir.
Good night, Mr. Little.
Good night, sir. I'm hearing you pellucidly clear. Maybe you're listening.
Hello?
Yes, hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. You just have to constrain yourself to the telephone and not listen to the device that you are engaging. Just listen to the phone alone. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you, Professor.
Yes, we're hearing you loudly now. Yes, thanks much. Good evening, sir.
And good evening to the Honorable Akilah Byron-Nisbett.
Hi, good evening.
And I want to thank you for your service to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis.
My
and
pleasure.
we want to tell you that we appreciate you standing up behind our great Prime Minister.
Of course.
You're a great example for women in St. Kitts and Nevis. And from a senator to a representative, I know the people that are being behind you to promote you as the woman deputy prime minister in this country here.
Thank you.
Because you have done the work before you were elected, and you have done some of the work under the circumstances based on how things going down. And we want to commend you for that here. And one of the things that I didn't hear you speak about for the evening is your input and your contribution in terms of helping the young people in this country, I mean the young man then, and the people who are affected by the crime, in terms of how you help to turn the situation around within your constituency and the neighboring constituency there. I'd like you to highlight some of that here tonight, and we really appreciate you and the strength that you and the Prime Minister is showing on behalf of all of us. We take care.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for your contribution. We have another caller. Good evening. Welcome to The Point with Minister Byron-Nisbett.
Hi, question. We would like to know how come the statutory bodies didn't get the 10%?
How come?
Statutory bodies didn't get the 10%.
The statutory bodies, how come they didn't get the 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, that is your question. Okay. Do you have any more callers? Okay, you get a chance now to respond.
All right, no problem. Contribution to helping young people as it relates to crime. Well, we know the government would have the peace initiative that we would have started, and this initiative have seen our country come from a place where our levels of crime were extremely high. In some instances, even our hospitals were not untouched by the crime, and it was important for us to do something. And so we would have seen the introduction of the peace program, which touched persons throughout my constituency as well as constituencies throughout the federation. But outside of the peace program, I am the type of person who loves to be able to engage a lot of our young people, and the young men included. And I try to motivate them, and I try to speak with them one-on-one, and try to provide as much advice as I can. And so I engage them regularly, continue to keep them focused. Some of them have some brilliant business ideas. So we see how we can channel them to the small business development unit to get that assistance to build out their business plan and really think through the ideas that they have in order to have a successful business, as well as just continuing to engage with those young persons to keep them positive and continue to keep them on the path that they're already on to the peace program and otherwise. So those are ways in which I have assisted. In terms of the payment to statutory bodies, I think when the Prime Minister made the announcement of the 10% increase, he would have spoken to the civil service. As most people would be aware, the statutory bodies does not form part of the civil service. And so the expectation would be that these statutory corporations who manage and run their own financial affairs would have to look within their budgets to see if they would be able to provide that 10% increase to their staff.
Yes, and one would have to be mindful as well that statutory bodies, when they fall short, it comes over to the government.
Correct.
If you're giving a mayor double salary, that is a one-off. But to give a 10% increase, that would have to continue for the entire time going forward.
Correct.
And that is why this astute politician and leader did his calculations properly and would have left it up to the statutory authorities
Correct.
to examine the cash flow and see whether or not they could sustain that for a long period of time, because an increase is forever going forward.
Correct.
The only thing could happen to an increase going forward is for it to increase further. You cannot take back an increase. So the astute politician that we have in the person of the Prime Minister, I think that he was very guarded against giving an increase to the statutory body
Correct.
and then not being able to have it sustained and then fall over on the government
That is
itself.
correct.
Now I think that we are basically wrapping up now.
Yes.
And
Was
I don't know, for the 2 hours we sat here,
Mhm.
I felt as though I was trespassing on your performance, your work.
Mhm.
You always have something to do.
Mhm.
And I hope that that would not interfere with your conjugal duties and jeopardize anything for you. But I think you have a lovely understanding within your family.
Of course.
So they would have afforded you to serve and to serve freely.
Correct.
And I felt like I was trespassing. But I know that I'm going to be bold enough to ask you to come back.
Of course.
But before we do that, I would like you to give your parting shot, so to speak.
Well, it definitely was a pleasure being here tonight and to be able to get to the point with you, Mr. Nital. Many persons keep saying that I'm quiet and they're not hearing from me. I'm not the talkative type. I like to get things done. And then by the time I open my mouth and talk, then you would hear of all the things that I have been able to accomplish. And I think that I have done myself justice to be able to lay out for you what I have been able to achieve, not just within my ministries, but also within the constituency that I am so privileged to serve. And I just want to be able to remind the constituents of West Bastia that we've come a long way and we've done so much together. We certainly cannot risk going back to what was. And we already understand and have seen in constituency number 3 what 5 years of a non-performing representative looks like. We've seen it. So much so that during the 5 years that representative, previous representative, had to be able to serve within the halls of Parliament and to be able to represent the people of number 3, there's not much that he was able to do. He never lobbied on behalf of the people of number 3. He never agitated on behalf of the people of number 3. All we heard were excuses. Not one proposal did he offer. He never knocked on any door. And he never even stood up in Parliament and did any bidding on behalf of the people of number 3. And during the last 3 years of him being the representative for number 3, the last 3 of those 5 years, I had to be called into action to be able to deliver for the people of number 3. Because the people of number 3 keep saying, we don't have anybody to go to, we don't have anybody to assist us, we don't know who we should be able to talk to. And because of his inability to deliver, that is why the people of number 3 would have rejected him at the polls. And so I would expect the same will happen in the upcoming elections, the same thing. But I just want to tell him that he should not fear, because once I'm elected again, and once I have that great Ministry of Entertainment to lead, I have a job for him. Because all we see from this individual, from since the start of their campaign, is just a lot of singing, calypso, and entertaining. So since that is where he's most comfortable, then of course we'll find something for him to do within the Ministry of Entertainment. And the fact of the matter is that there are so many important issues that need to be addressed And at this time, we need serious leadership. This is not the time for us to take the risk and lose the gains that we have made. I've proven that I can deliver, unlike the other one who had 5 years and proved he's unable and not capable to deliver for the people of West Bastille. So there's no other choice for the people of West Bastille than Akilah Byron-Nisbett in the upcoming elections. Thank you.
And as much as we used to say, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bushes, that would have changed as circumstances evolved, and a bird in the hand is now worth all the birds in the damn forest. That we have come to the end of our session, and I would like to really thank you for taking the time out. And I know you have to get ready for the press conference tomorrow, and I wish you, I know you shall deliver.
Thank you.
Okay.
They had it, folks, another edition of The Point here on WINN FM 98.9. It's 3 past the hour of 10 o'clock. We now head back to our regular programming.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
WINN FM 98.9 keeps you connected